Timpani, or kettle drums, are musical instruments in the percussion family. A type of drum. They consist of a skin called a head stretched over a large bowl traditionally made of copper. They are played by striking the head with a specialized drumstick called a timpani stick or timpani mallet. Timpani evolved from military drums to become a staple of the classical orchestra by the last third of the 18th century. Today, they are used in many types of musical ensembles, including concert bands, marching bands, orchestras, and even in some rock. Timpani is an Italian plural, the singular of which is timpano. However, in informal English speech a single instrument is rarely called a timpano. Several are more typically referred to collectively as kettle drums, timpani, temple drums, or simply timps. They are also often incorrectly termed timpanish. A musician who plays the timpani is a timpanist. Etymology and alternative spellings. First attested in English in the late 19th century, the Italian word timpani derives from the Latin tympanum, which is the Latinization of the Greek word tau upsilon mu pi alpha nu omicron nu, a hand drum, which in turn derives from the verb tau upsilon pi tau omega, meaning to strike, to hit. Alternative spellings with y in place of either or both is timpani, timpani, or timpani, are occasionally encountered in older English texts. Although the word timpani has been widely adopted in the English language, some English speakers choose to use the word kettle drums. The German word for timpani is pauken, the French and Spanish is timbalis. The Ashanti pair of talking drums are known as atumpin. The tympanim is defined in the etymology of Saint Isidore of Seville. Tympanim est pellus vel corium ligno ex una party extentum, est enim pars media symphoniae in similitude and emcribre. Tympanim autem dictum quod medium est. Under a margaritum medium tympanum dissiter, a ipsum ut symphonia ad virgulum percutic. The tympanim is an instrument made of skin or hide stretched over a hollow wooden vessel which extends out. It is said by the symphonias to resemble a sieve, but has also been likened to half a pearl. It is struck with a wand stick, beating time for the symphonia. The reference comparing the tympanim to half a pearl is borrowed from Pliny the Elder. Construction. They are usually put together by hand in the southern region of France, and at one time were tightened together by horses tugging from each side of the drum by the bolts. The Industrial Revolution made that construction style obsolete and paved the way for more modern building methods. Basic timpani. The basic timpani drum consists of a drum head stretched across the opening of a bowl typically made of copper or, in less expensive models, fiberglass and sometimes aluminum. In the Saxe-Horn-Bostel classification, the timpani are thus considered membranophones. The drum head is affixed to a hoop, which in turn is held onto the bowl by a counter hoop, which is then held by means of a number of tuning screws called tension rods placed regularly around the circumference. The head's tension can be adjusted by loosening or tightening the rods. Most timpani have 6 to 8 tension rods. The shape of the bowl contributes to the quality of the drum. For example, hemispheric bowls produce brighter tones, while parabolic bowls produce darker tones. Another factor that affects the timbre of the drum is the quality of the bowl's surface. Copper bowls may have a smooth, machined surface or a rough surface with many small dents hammered into it. Timpani come in a variety of sizes from about 84 cm in diameter down to piccoli timpani of 30 cm or less. A 33-inch drum can produce the C below the bass clef, and specialty piccoli timpani can play up into the treble clef. In Darius Milhaud's 1923 ballet score La Création du Monde, the timpanist must play the F sharp at the bottom of the treble clef. Each individual drum typically has a range of a perfect fifth. Machine timpani. Changing the pitch of a timpani by turning each tension rod individually is a laborious process. In the late 19th century, mechanical systems to change the tension of the entire head at once were developed. Any timpani equipped with such a system may be considered machine timpani. Although this term commonly refers to drums that use a single handle connected to a spider-type tuning mechanism. Pedal timpani. By far, the most common type of timpani used today is the pedal timpani, which allows the tension of the head to be adjusted using a pedal mechanism. Typically, the pedal is connected to the tension screws via an assembly of either cast metal or metal rods called the spider. There are three types of pedal mechanisms in common use today. The ratchet clutch system uses a ratchet and pawl to hold the pedal in place. The timpanist must first disengage the clutch before using the pedal to tune the drum. When the desired pitch is achieved, the timpanist must then re-engage the clutch. Because the ratchet engages in only a fixed set of positions, the timpanist must fine-tune the drum by means of a fine-tuning handle. In the balanced action system, a spring or hydraulic cylinder is used to balance the tension on the timpani head so that the pedal will stay in position and the head will stay at pitch. The pedal on a balanced action drum is sometimes called a floating pedal since there is no clutch holding it in place. The friction clutch or post and clutch system uses a clutch that moves along a post. Disengaging the clutch frees it from the post, allowing the pedal to move without restraint. Professional level drums use either the ratchet or friction system and have copper bowls. These drums can have one of two styles of pedals. The Dresden pedal is attached to the drum at the side nearest the player, and is operated by ankle motion. A Berlin-style pedal is attached by means of a long arm to the opposite side of the drum, and the timpanist must use his entire leg to adjust the pitch. In addition to a pedal, high-end instruments have a hand-operated fine-tuner, which allows the timpanist to make minute pitch adjustments. The pedal is on either the left or right side of the drum depending on where it is set up. The mechanical parts of these instruments are almost completely contained within the frame and bowl of the drum. They may use any of the pedal mechanisms, though the balanced action system is by far the most common, followed by the friction clutch system. Many professionals also use these drums for outdoor performances due to their durability and lighter weight. The pedal is in the center of the drum itself. Chain timpani. On chain timpani, the tension rods are connected by a roller chain much like the one found on a bicycle, though some manufacturers have used other materials, including steel cable. In these systems, all the tension screws can then be tightened or loosened by one handle. Though far less common than pedal timpani, chain and cable drums still have practical uses. Occasionally, a player is forced to place a drum behind other items so that he cannot reach it with his foot. Professional players may also use exceptionally large or small chain and cable drums for special low or high notes. Other tuning mechanisms. A rare tuning mechanism allows the pitch of the head to be changed by rotating the drum itself. A similar system is used on rototoms. Genko, a company better known for mallet percussion, made timpani tuned in this fashion. In the early 20th century, Hans Schneller, the timpanist of the Vienna Philharmonic, developed a tuning mechanism in which the bowl is moved via a handle that connects to the base, and the head remains stationary. These drums are referred to as Viennese timpani or Schneller timpani. Adams Musical Instruments developed a pedal-operated version of this tuning mechanism in the early 21st century. Timpani heads. Like most drum heads, timpani heads can be made from two materials: animal skin and plastic. Plastic heads are durable, weather-resistant, and relatively inexpensive. Thus, they are more commonly used than natural skin heads. However, many professional players prefer skin heads because they produce a warmer quality timbre. Timpani heads are sized based on the size of the head, not the size of the timpani bowl. For example, a 23 drum may require a 25 head. This two-size difference has been standardized by most timpani manufacturers since 1978. Sticks and mallets. Timpani are typically struck with a special type of drum stick fittingly called a timpani stick or timpani mallet. Timpani sticks are used in pairs. They have two components, a shaft and a head. The shaft is typically made from hardwood or bamboo but may also be made from aluminum or carbon fiber. The head of the stick can be constructed from a number of different materials, though felt wrapped around a wood core is the most common. Other core materials include compressed felt, cork, and leather, and other wrap materials include chamois. Unwrapped sticks with heads of wood, felt, flannel, and leather are also common. Wood sticks are used as a special effect, specifically requested by composers as early as the Romantic era, and in authentic performances of Baroque music. Although not usually stated in the score, timpanists will change sticks, the same piece, to suit the nature of the music. However, the choice of stick during a performance is entirely subjective and depends on the timpanist's own preference and occasionally the wishes of the conductor. Thus, most timpanists own a great number of mallets. The weight of the stick, the size and latent surface area of the head, the materials used for the shaft, core, and wrap, and the method used to wrap the head all contribute to the timbre the stick produces. In the early 20th century and before, sticks were often made with whalebone shafts, wood cores, and sponge wraps. Composers of that era often specified sponge-headed sticks. Modern timpanists execute such passages with standard felt mallets. Popular grips. The two most common grips in playing the timpani are the German and French grips. In the German grip, the palm of the hand should be parallel to the drum head and the thumb should be on the side of the stick. In the French grip, the palm of the hand should be close to perpendicular with drum head and the thumb should be on top of the stick. In both of these styles, as with most percussion grips, the fulcrum consists of the contact between the thumb and middle finger. The index finger is used as a guide and to help lift the stick off of the drum. The American grip is a hybrid of these two grips. Another known grip is known as the Amsterdam grip, made famous by the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra, which is similar to the Hinger grip, except the stick is cradled on the lower knuckle of the index finger. In the modern ensemble, a set of timpani. A standard set of timpani consists of 4 drums, roughly 32 inches, 29 inches, 26 inches, and 23 inches in diameter. The range of this set is roughly the D below the bass clef to the top line bass clef A. A great majority of the orchestral repertoire can be played using these 4 drums. However, contemporary composers have written for extended ranges. Igor Stravinsky specifically writes for a piccolo timpano in the rite of spring, tuned to the B below middle C. A piccolo drum is typically 20 inches in diameter and can reach pitches up to middle C. Beyond this extended set of 5 instruments, any added drums are non-standard. Many professional orchestras and timpanists own more than just one set of timpani, allowing them to execute music that cannot be more accurately performed using a standard set of 4 or 5 drums and music that requires more than one set of timpani. Many schools and ensembles unable to afford purchase of this equipment regularly rely on a set of 2 or 3 timpani, sometimes referred to as the orchestral 3. It consists of 29-inch, 26-inch, and 23-inch drums. Its range extends down only to the F below the bass clef. The drums are set up in an arc around the performer. Traditionally, North American, British, and French timpanists set their drums up with the lowest drum on the left and the highest on the right, while German, Austrian, and Greek players set them up in the reverse order, as to resemble a drum set or upright bass. This distinction is not strict, as many North American players use the German setup and vice versa. Timpanists throughout their education, timpanists have trained as percussionists, and they learn to play all instruments of the percussion family along with timpani. However, when appointed to a principal timpani chair in a professional ensemble, a timpanist is not normally required to play any other instruments. In his book Anatomy of the Orchestra, Norman Delmar writes that the timpanist is king of his own province, and that a good timpanist really does set the standard of the whole orchestra. A qualified member of the percussion section sometimes doubles as associate timpanist. performing in repertoire requiring multiple timpanists and filling in for the principal timpanist when required. Among the professionals who have been highly regarded for their virtuosity and impact on the development of the timpani in the 20th century are Saul Goodman, Hans Schneller, Fred Hinger, and Cloyd Duff. Timpani concertos. A few concertos have been written for timpani. The 18th-century composer Johann Fischer wrote a symphony for 8 timpani and orchestra, which requires the solo timpanist to play 8 drums simultaneously. Rough contemporaries Georg Drousketsky and Johann Melchior Malta also wrote pieces for timpani and orchestra. Throughout the 19th century and much of the 20th, there were few new timpani concertos. In 1983, William Kraft, principal timpanist of the Los Angeles Philharmonic, composed his concerto for timpani and orchestra, which won second prize in the Kennedy Center Friedheim Awards. There have been other timpani concertos, notably, Philip Glass, considered one of the most influential composers of the late 20th century, wrote a double concerto at the behest of soloist Jonathan Haas titled Concerto Fantasy for 2 timpanists and orchestra, which features its soloists playing 9 drums apiece.